Welcome to the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast. I am your host, Estelle Bingham, and together we'll be delving into the profound meaning of love, the driving force of purpose, and the beauty of connection that shapes the fabric of our lives. In each episode, I sit down with some of the most inspiring individuals out there to understand the ways love has touched them. My guest today is a modern-day witch, healer, and author whose work guides women back to alignment by reconnecting with the ancient wisdom of their ancestors. Described as a real-life embodiment of Molly Weasley from Harry Potter, she inspires women to live more intentional, magical lives. Welcome to the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast, Emma Griffin.
It's so lovely to see you, and thank you for asking me. I'm honoured.
I'm super excited to have you here. You're in Cornwall.
I'm in Cornwall, yeah.
That's right.
I'm from London, and I grew up in Kent, but I moved from Nottinghamshire to Cornwall.
And that was to actually really live life more seasonally, everything you talk about in your books. Let's talk a little bit about your books and about what it means to live life seasonally and live life by the phases of the moon and live life in a sacred way. What does this mean to you?
I feel like society has this pressure on us all. I think the world's gone really, really fast, especially, I think really the last 10 years seems to be just like a blur and this pressure on everyone. And especially women are forced to live in this hustle and go for things and be a certain way. And I think it's quite scary to have that pressure. And it doesn't sit well with me. It's not natural for me. I don't feel that we can live our whole, if you look at it as a year with the seasons, I don't think we can be go all the time. That's why we will get burnt out. So the seasons tell me when to pause or when to go, or when to rest or hibernate or heal. And that gives me this container so I'm not burnt out. My mental health is really good. I feel bliss and ease, and it's how our ancestors used to live their lives anyway, and before we had all of this social media and pressure on us. So that's how I live my life.
Yeah, and also you're doing that, the seasonal part, and then you're also doing the witchy parts on the other side, aren't you? And that's the title of one of your books, The Witch's Way Home.
Yeah.
We have these connotations around that word, don't we? And what it means to live as a witch or be a witch. What is it for you? What does it mean for you? And why did you write the book?
I think people are scared of the word witch because of the movies and how witches are sort of shown that they're really bad and nasty and evil, working with the devil. A witch to me is any gender who really has done the work to know who they are, and they live by the seasons and live by the world, outside of them, but also within themselves. And that's good for everyone. So it's not negative, it's not scary, it's actually really nice. It's kind of like a religion because it's the way someone would live their lives. But yeah, and my Witch's Way Home book came to me because I wanted to teach people the importance to return home to the witch that they've always been or wanted to be, and use all of this around us and within us and the dimensions that we can work with to actually claim our own power and be confident and happy and return home to our authenticity.
Do you feel that there are good witches and not so good witches?
Yeah, I think people, there's good people and there's not so nice people. I think there's mainly witches do things for the good. And I'm sure there are a few witches that do work with the devil or do, nasty things. But that's with everybody, isn't it, really?
It's important, I think, for people to understand that there is a distinction, and also historically, there's such a massive distinction between what it means, I suppose, to be, there's that idea of being a white witch or, a witch for the good. And of course, what we know historically is that, the midwives, the healers, the wise women, of the herbal women, the women who work with the herbs, were all at one point or other would be termed as witches, and which is why they ended up being burnt at the stake, right? So where we're unraveling that, either ancestrally or karmically, it's just an important piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, and I think we're all affected by the witch wound and the fear of the witch. And it's, somewhere in our ancestors, you've got this wound that sort of ricocheted into our DNA. So even obviously the men back in those times would have witnessed the women of their village or their loved ones or their families being taken away and put to trial and killed for being a healer or a midwife or, things like that. So I think it affects us all now because that's why we're scared of being seen or speaking our truth, or especially the woo woo. If someone dared to speak about their spiritual gifts, they feel like they're an outsider, which is a real shame.
How did you come to this work, Emma?
I grew up in a magical household. So my mum was a witch and my dad worked for the fashion trade, but he was also doing platform mediumship. So he taught me how to meditate and my mum taught me witchcraft. So it was normal for me. And then I think I was about 19, so it's almost 30 years now I've been a witch. I decided to steal all my mum's witchcraft books and set up an altar, and I did it very traditionally. I was a Wiccan witch, and I did everything in my power to fall pregnant with my daughter. That's why I started witchcraft.
And how did you go about that? What were some of the rituals around that?
Yeah, well, every day for 9 months, I would work at my altar. I would call down a deity, and it was Diana at the time. And I would be cooking on our stove different potions to drink or to smell or to work with. I'd make my husband bathe in things, eat things, drink things. I would have different things around our bedroom as well, lots of ponygrammes, lots of fertility symbols. And I practiced that for 9 months and then fell pregnant with my daughter, Holly.
So that started your journey. Were you actually working at that time in this way, or you were working, but did you have a day job?
The day job, I was a fashion designer, so I had a normal normal day job. But my mum always did. My mum worked with the dead, and she was a very well-known tarot reader. She had her own deck, so she was quite well-known. And my mum's magic is very different to my magic. So I would explain my mum was more like Maleficent, if you like Disney, and I'm more like Molly Weasley of Harry Potter. So my mum was all about sex, power, money, passion, and mine's more fertility, self-love, very soft. So we're very different witches.
Okay. And do you feel like she taught you what it is that you didn't want to kind of create in your world?
Yeah, it was all the trying to affect something. I don't believe you can affect people's free will. So you can't make your ex come back to you. When my mum did believe in that. So it's a very different thing.
Yeah, it's a different way of being though, isn't it? And I think that when we think about The Witch's Way Home, we think about this book that you've written, it feels like that. It feels like this idea of bringing yourself into sort of sovereignty with self and spirit. And actually we're in flow. It's a really joyful way of being in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
When you say the Maleficent, I've come across what that looks like. That's just unnecessary. And also has its own ripple effect. Because one of the things that for me, that's really important is karma. What happens in the next 15 lives. So if you are doing something that is affecting the outcome, an outcome that is against the flow and against someone else's karma, and you're changing their world, right? You will have to end up at some point, facing into them and in a couple of lifetimes or next lifetime and figure it out. And I just think, I don't really want to be doing, that's the sort of thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, my mum would do magic for lust, or my mum was very beautiful, so it's a completely different situation, and obviously different ages and stuff, different generation. And I believe if you're manifesting, which is like spell work, and you're wanting something or calling something forward, there has to be authentic to you personally. So I don't feel her magic was. I think it was more for like a quick gain or what she thought would bring her happiness or love.
Yeah, and that's so true, Emma, because there's a lot of, obviously, on Instagram or also on TikTok, Witch Talk. I feel like there's a lot of information out there at the moment about so much, and it's so important that it's grounded in a sort of wisdom tradition and a real understanding of what's going on, and that actually it can feel like a game, but it's not a game, right? Like it actually can feel that, but you are affecting you are affecting your karma. And what's wonderful about The Witch's Way Home and Find Your Soul Path is that it's not that, and it's really bringing us back to this, the truth of really what it means to be a witch, to be a healing person.
Yeah, and I'm lucky. My daughter, she's also a witch. She asked me to initiate her about 3 years ago, and her magic is different to me. And she's more of a sea witch because she loves the ocean and stuff. But it's so lovely to see someone who's like nearly 25 actually stand in her power and start this path. And she's like the witch I wish I was at that age. So it's really beautiful.
And she's also got the support. She's got your support, hasn't she?
Yeah.
We love a bit of the Weasley family. Hi, it's Estelle here, and I'm so excited to share my new book with you, Manifest Your True Essence, Clear Your Blocks, Find Your Joy, Live Your Truth. This is more than just a book. It's an invitation to come home to your heart. Within its pages, you'll find the guidance to reconnect with your true essence. Through gentle meditations, heart-centered practices, and soulful wisdom, you'll learn how to release old patterns, embrace your divine spark, and manifest a life filled with love, purpose, and connection. Remember, you are love, you are light, and you are infinitely powerful. So what about some of the basics? Like, let's get some of the basics.
I think if you're wanting to be a witch, I think, like you said, there's so much noise out there, and everyone is different. Every author is different. So I think the first place to start is research, and also research the history of witchcraft and read about the burning times. Then I would actually make a list, get your own little book, your own little book of shadows, and write down information that resonates to you personally. Like, you might not resonate to something about the moons. You might only like the new moon or something like that. So I would make it very personal, because I think everyone's journey is different. I work around the moon phases. So obviously, when we start with the new moon. The new moon for that week and the week after, that is my go, go, go week. So I would do things like this. I would do interviews, or I would hold space for clients, and I would go and see friends. I would socialize, and that'd be my sort of busy 2 weeks. But then when the full moon comes in, it's a moment for me to reflect and give gratitude. So that week, I'm sort of re-looking at things within my business or making content. I'm not actually holding space for people. I start to go inwards to myself. And then the week after that last week it's probably my favorite week, is my week of doing banishing work, or doing any healing, or doing shadow work, or I really do go deep on those weeks. So by living like that in that 4 weeks or 5 weeks, it gives me that period of the go, 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 but also I'm always looking into my own healing every month. So I think that's really important. But I think the biggest step for wanting to be a witch is to really return home, find out who you are first, because that helps you massively. Because then you know what to do in those seasons and the moon phases.
Absolutely. And what about bringing things into our world? Because I always talk about this, the idea of what it means to create sacred space, and that ultimately, the sacred space is held within our hearts. And also, but then creating a place, a sort of for this return. And with my mystery schoolers, one of the first things is that altar work, and creating an altar space What does that look like for you? What's on your altar, Emma?
I have many altars, really. I have my main altar, which I'm constantly using to either banish something or something I want to work through or to manifest something. I also use, obviously, the Sabbaths as well. So, obviously, we've got Beltane coming up. So, will be decorating it for that. But I also have one in my garden where if I want to sit in the garden and just connect to my land, I will have an altar there. But I also feel it's so important that your home is your sacred space, and your home should be filled with things that hold you, that wherever way you look, brings you joy and love. And we should look after our homes like it's a huge amethyst, because our home sucks up our energy, but also radiates it out. So I love it if someone comes to our home and says, "Oh, it feels so lovely," or then I've done my magic well, because I think it's really important because you need something to hold us continuously in this life. And that's your home. So that's probably the biggest altar.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And when you go to the altar, and I'm really curious to hear more about this. When we go to the altar and you're manifesting or banishing, do you want to just like talk everyone through what the banishing is about?
If I'm calling something in, I believe that we have to clear away space to allow something new to come forward. So this could be something really massive, like a career change, or it could be something small, like you'd like someone to buy you a coffee or something like that. So it'd be small to big. So when we're banishing, we have to sort of look into ourselves of, well, what's our limited beliefs? What's holding me back? What's sort of horrible talk am I saying to myself daily? Or, you capture things. So I normally journal those so by the time that the moon moves into the phase after the full moon where I want to banish things, I will literally be letting go. So my favorite element to use is fire, because fire can activate, but can also banish as well, destroy. So you can write things on a bay leaf to wish and to banish, but you can also let go and feel on a piece of paper the words that you write, pop it in the fire and watch it just go. And that does help. But there's a lot of spiritual bypassing of we'll just write our belief and burn it and let it go. It has to be felt. And that's where the magic is. It's okay doing all these things that you see on social media, but you have to feel it. And that's where the shadow work, the journaling is involved before you get to that point.
The shadow work is so important, isn't it? And also the idea of spiritual bypassing, because that happens a lot. And that's why understanding these traditions and how ancient they are, how effective they are, potent and really powerful, that it's actually, you will feel shifts and changes will happen. And to sort of come to also to this work with it's fun. And there's also, there's a reverence too, it's as you're, creating a sacredness in your life.
Yeah, I think it's in the present moment. Once you're in that present moment, you're really feeling like a pain that you want to release and not hold on to anymore. It may take a couple of times to do it, but allowing yourself to have that pause is massive. It's huge. And then once you do that, and then you follow up with aligned action, the universe goes, here you go, here.
So you're talking about journaling, you're talking about writing, obviously we know like the kind of creating almost the spells as of what you're looking to banish. You're putting those words down.
I'll say it. So I use it like as your throat chakra frequency, but I also work with the dead. So I will also call forward my spiritual team to give me support, help me.
So let's talk about that, because I write about the spirit. I talk about the family and the light in my book, Manifest Your True Essence, and you talk about that because we do talk about that. That's what we do. So when you call forth your spiritual family in the light, who are they for you?
Well, there's quite a lot of them. I obviously call forward my family, loved ones, and both my parents are in the spirit world. So I try to connect to them daily. And then your grandparents, aunts and uncles and stuff. But then also you've got your ancestors that you probably never have met. So they're, in your bloodline. I call forward them if they want to help me. Also spirit animals as well. I do have a magpie that I call forward. I've also done a lot of past life work. So I call forward people from that area as well, which is like 400 years ago. So I bring those people in. I also call forward like my spirit guide, but also I work with 12 like light beings. So that I call them the council. So I call forward them as well, which that helps me channel and help me do my day job, hold space for people.
Why do you choose to bring someone in from that lifetime 400 years ago?
Well, no one's ever asked me that before. But I did a past life work for like a whole day on myself, and I opened my eyes and wrote down this name and a date and a place, which was 1597, and it's a certain place in Scotland. And I showed it to my husband, and he was amazed that I got certain like detailed names, and I'm very dyslexic, and I was definite how I was spelling this name. So he thought, I'm going to research. So he did some research, and there is the actual woman that I said that I was, who died at exactly the same time. And I got everything right. And it's on a record of someone who was born in Aberdeen, who was classed as a witch. And then the weirdest thing was, as I was sort of like more like trying to connect to that person or connect to that life through meditation, and I was starting to sort my Instagram out. I was starting to show myself online. Women all over the world, I've had Switzerland, Scotland, France, they would remember and they'd want to come and see me and they'd bring up stuff that I haven't shared with anyone before and would actually tell me about the landscape or they'd say they were drawn to me. So that was absolutely fascinating for me. So I've had about 20 women that have come forward saying, I know you.
Really powerful. So what other past lives have you had, Emma, that you're in contact with or you in touch with?
Some kind of something to work with astrology, but I don't think they called it astrology at that time. And I was a man. Um, and then I've had like, it's like you have fleeting thoughts of remembering or like playing a piano in a certain way or this view out of a window. It's like these little movie clips will come into your mind. Or if I go somewhere, especially if I go like abroad or something like that, or I'm drawn to a place, that gives you what I call the remembering. But it's the witch life that feels more aligned to me. I feel like it's, that was 400 years ago. So now I'm meant to be doing this path to actually fulfill the destiny of that spirit that died. So yeah, that's probably the deepest one for me.
Or it's your soul's purpose.
Yeah, she is me. Yeah.
You've found a lifetime where you can do what you need to do.
Yeah. And like she couldn't have children. I did. I was lucky to have children. And when she died, she died at 33. And that was the moment that I had a decade of different cancers. So there's lots of stuff with death as well that keeps coming up. So I'm kind of like living her life now where she was obviously put to death. So it's a nice story.
It's a wonderful story. So at 33, you had a decade of different cancers.
Well, it started when I was 30, but the worst one was 33. Yeah.
And what did that look like?
Yeah, very, very tough. I was told that I wouldn't get to the age of 40. So I decided I'd start up a photography business and just go full into a self-employed because I'm a very creative soul and I wanted something to not take my mind off it, but something to give me some like, I don't know, some like journey, some path. And my kids were very little. So I put in front of me that I would see my daughter learn to drive or my son go to prom and just stepped onto a path of that's not my story. And then I got to 41 and they have like yearly checkups and they said I was in remission.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
This idea of almost just saying, right, I'm putting myself into this time on this timeline.
Yeah, however scary it is, that's not my story. I want to be here. And I still do it now. Like I'm going to be 50 next year. So I've now got different milestones. So I'm like, wow, that's a big number. I shouldn't actually be here. So I'm very grateful for that. But I'm also now putting milestones of like grandchildren. I will get to see that and keep pushing this timeline further and further away. And it's probably the biggest thing I've manifested, obviously. And I I haven't bypassed it. I've done a lot of crying. I have helped myself, and it's a difficult period. But also, is there something within me that I was like, that's just not going to happen. It's not, I don't, that's not me. That's not how it's meant to end. So it gave me that drive.
It really did, didn't it?
Yeah. And also it makes you look at life completely different. So I look back at that time and very grateful. I'm very blessed to have that because it's made me see the world in a different light. I choose to be a positive person because life is very short. And I'd rather be this Molly Weasley than, waste my life that I've been given.
Well, we're happy that you are Molly Weasley and also and also Emma Griffin.
Thank you, Estelle.
It was so wonderful to hear parts of your story today. But I wanted to ask you about the words love, purpose, connection. In terms of the witch's way home, how did they relate to that path?
The love, purpose, connection is everything. It's the start. It's our soul. That's how I would look at it. And I think returning home to yourself is finding out the person that you've come here to be, strip away those layers of society, programming, and then actually step onto your purpose and be the person that you should be and not waste a minute.
Oh, that's perfect, Emma. Thank you.
Thank you, Estelle.
Thank you so much for listening to Love, Purpose, Connection with me, Estelle Bingham. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'd really appreciate that. And if you really liked it, then leave me a review so I can keep doing what I love, healing one heart at a time. You can also follow me, Estelle.Bingham, on Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest releases. If you feel in need of some extra guidance, then my book, Manifest Your True Essence, could be helpful. You can find it online or in any major bookshop. In the meantime, thanks again for listening, thanks again for watching, and I will join you on the next episode of the Love, Purpose, Connection podcast.